Hello again. We come to chapter 11 of the Screwtape letters. In that first paragraph, there's some wonderful phrasing where we hear, "Clearly everything is going well. I'm especially glad to hear that the two new friends have now made him acquainted with their whole set. All of these I find from the record office are thoroughly reliable people." Of course, reliable to Screwtape. Steady, consistent scoffers and worldlings, without any spectacular crimes, are progressing quietly and comfortably towards our Father's house. Again, it doesn't have to be those fantastic things. It's just kind of that life that's lived quietly sliding down into hell. But then Screwtape does address to Wormwood the problem of laughter that's going on in these relationships. He says, I trust this does not mean that you are under the impression that laughter as such is always in our favor. The point is worth some attention. He begins, I divide the causes of human laughter into joy, fun, the joke proper, and flippancy. He says you'll find the first, joy, among friends and lovers reunited on the eve of a holiday. Among some adults, the pretext of jokes is usually provided with a facility which the smallest witticisms produce laughter at such times show that they are not the real cause. Again, these people get together, they're in such a joyful mood that even the slightest thing becomes funny. It doesn't have to be a great joke. They're just thoroughly enjoying themselves. But it is interesting to see, Screwtape can't figure out why these people are having such a good time. What is it about joy? He goes to say, what the real cause is, we do not know. Something like it is expressed much in that detestable art which the humans call music, and something like it occurs in heaven. A meaningless acceleration in the rhythm of celestial experiences, quite opaque to us. Again, laughter of this kind does us no good and should always be discouraged. Besides, the phenomenon itself is disgusting and a direct insult to the realism, dignity, and austerity of hell. Now again, we go back to the idea that Screwtape is a liar. Again, that realism of hell, that dignity, that austerity. Well, no, that's not what hell is. Because, there is that great music of heaven. And we see he can't figure out things like music. He can't figure out joy. Those things just make no sense to the devils because they're so far beyond their experience. Again, I think it is in a future chapter we come up where they talk about hell is not filled with music as heaven is, but noise. And that's the nature of heaven, of hell. Just filled with noise, 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 to quote the Grinch. It is that idea that, that there is no harmony. Everything is discordant. Nothing goes together. Music is a matter of harmony, of blending, and that does not exist in hell. He says, fun is closely related to joy, a sort of emotional froth arising from the play instinct. It's of very little use to us. They said sometimes you can take play to divert the human being from something that he should be doing. But the problem is that having fun is wholly undesirable because it promotes charity, courage, contentment, and many other evils. Of course, as Screwtape would see evils. Then he talks about the joke proper, which turns on a sudden perception of incongruity, and is much more, he says that's a much more promising field. We always talk about that idea of what a joke is. I always go back to, there's an episode of The Simpsons where Marge is at the country club and somebody says something to her out of the group that's kind of biting, and Marge isn't sure how to take it. One of the other people says, oh, don't worry, Marge. Her idea of wit is nothing more than an incisive observation, humorously phrased and delivered with impeccable timing. Again, that's the idea of a joke. Something that we laugh at. Something that shows an incongruity, something that's different. It kind of twists things around a little bit in a way we don't expect. Now again, Screwtape says a lot of times people think of just body humor, those jokes about bodies or sex and things like that. And he said it's only the second-rate tempters that even try to use that, because they find that just often that it's disappointing. And he said the funny thing is about the English, again, being English, he was commenting on this, they take a sense of humor so seriously that they say a lack of it is the only deficiency at which they feel shame. Sometimes we tell people, oh yeah, we'll just kind of laugh it off. That's okay. Go ahead. But Screwtape explains, 1,000 bawdy or even blasphemous jokes do not help towards a man's damnation, so much as his discovery that almost anything he wants to do can be done, not only without the disapproval, but with the admiration of his fellows, if he can treat it as a joke. Again, I think we've probably all been the recipient, maybe some of us have been, the perpetrator of that really cutting joke, where you tell it to be funny, but you know that you're delivering it really to jab at somebody. He says, flippancy is the best of all. He said, in the first place, it's very economical. Only a clever human can make a real joke about virtue, or indeed anything else, but all of them can be trained to talk as if virtue were funny. The idea of flippancy is you get to the point where everything is laughable. There's, anything that comes up. Again, not that you can't make a joke about it, but it's to be laughed at in and of itself. You become flippant. Everything is just ha 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 going through life. You take nothing seriously as you go along the way. And that becomes the difficulty about flippancy, because many people start to get that attitude, and then they just live that out the rest of their life. They really don't know what is what and what's important. Again, I go back to another episode of The Simpsons of a bunch of kids at a rock festival, and one of them says something, that, oh, this place is just great. Another one looks at him and says, are you being ironic? The other one says, I don't even know anymore. Again, just living that life of everything's taken with irony, everything's taken not seriously. After a while, they just don't know what is what. And as we've been going through the Screwtapes, of course, the greatest thing that's problematic is getting away from reality, getting away from truth, getting away from the middle ground. And so, again, that's the problem of being flippant about everything. So again, we see the human laughter that comes from joy, fun, and the joke proper. All of those things are good. We don't have to be a dour group, always walking around, looking down, frowning, life is terrible. No, we're allowed to have fun. We're allowed to have joy, and we're allowed to tell jokes. Those are all good things. In fact, they can help us on our road to God. Sometimes they're showing real joy as a sign that we're on that road to God. What we have to avoid is that idea of flippancy, where just nothing really matters. So again, I ask that if you have any questions on this chapter or any of the others that you've heard, email me, and at some point in the future, I'll address those. Again, I haven't gotten a lot of questions, so when I get that, I'll be able to get back for maybe a little session of this, answering some questions.